Hi, welcome to another Feel Good Flow of our YouTube channel, the second one. So this class is actually inspired in a very liked or popular class of my live classes, IGTV on Instagram. So I decided to kind of update it, remake it, and teach it once again. So I hope you enjoy. We're going to actually start with our feet around mat width apart, our sits bones grounded, and our hands right behind us, supporting a long back. So make sure your hands are planted far enough back that you feel that you can elongate the spine and lift the heart just slightly. Getting a slight opening through the chest. Beginning to settle here, taking deep breaths through the nose, just letting ourselves land in this space. I'm teaching a couple feel good flows to start the channel because I feel that these are good for all of us, and they're good for a wide audience, and also they're nice classes to get back into yoga because they're mindful movement. It's kind of a treat for ourselves. So with that, we're going to let both knees fall towards the right. In a dynamic way, we're going to do as a windshield wiper, just move from one side to the other, letting our knees fall towards the left, and continue at your own pace. So these classes, as they are like a treat for you, I wanted to dedicate this class to honoring ourselves. So making sure that we're treating this time as a little gift to bow down to our inner self. One more, and we're going to meet with both knees in the center, letting both knees fall to the right once again, planting both of our hands behind us, either walking back, placing our forearms onto the mat, or maybe coming all the way onto our backs if that is what feels right. So there's a very popular or well-known Vedic Sanskrit mantra, which you might have heard. It goes, Om Namah Shivaya. Om meaning that eternal vibration of all that is. Nama meaning I bow down to. Shivaya, Lord Shiva, or the representation of our inner self. So throughout the class, remember this mantra as we are bowing down to our inner self. Om Namah Shivaya. Planting our hands once again if we're laying on our backs or our forearms, coming all the way up, letting our knees fall towards the left, placing our hands behind us, walking either our hands back or placing our forearms, or coming all the way onto our backs. And these more static poses to practice presence and to really bring to the front of your attention the reason why we're practicing, the intention for the class. You can repeat this mantra, Om Namah Shivaya. I bow down to my inner self. And so we remember to move with that in mind, accommodating or going to the place in each pose where we feel we are honoring ourselves, we're bowing down to ourselves. And slowly coming back up, bringing our knees back through center, planting our hands behind us, leaving our hands there. We're going to take our legs and lift them, bringing our shins parallel towards the mat. So the reason we're doing this modified Navasana is because I really want to prioritize that length of the spine. So feel the shoulders rolling back, the sits bones grounding, the crown of the head lengthening. And from there, you might want to lift your arms. If you feel that your back begins to round, then place them back behind you. We're going to hold here for 3 more breaths. Slowly planting our feet back down, this time hip width apart, hands behind us, lift your hips up. Trying to make a completely flat surface, so not letting your hips dip down. Pushing your hips up. Maybe you're looking forward or up, whatever feels best for your neck. And breathe here. Feeling that heat being created from the inside out. So beginning to create heat through the body to open. And slowly place your hips back down, leaving your hands where they are, lifting your legs. From there, if you want to lift the arms, do so. If not, keep them behind you. Finding that length, so you're not on your low back, you're on the sits bones. On those 2 bones underneath the flesh of the butt. And slowly lower the legs down, planting the hands in front of you, coming onto your knees, hip width apart, hands under the shoulders. A couple rounds of cat-cows. Inhaling, opening the chest, rotating the shoulders back, looking slightly up. As you exhale, belly button in and up, pushing the floor away from you, separating those wing bones, the scapulas, and continue at your own pace, feeling the protraction and retraction of those bones in the upper back. Bring mobility to the upper back, which is essential for good posture. Last one, and we'll all meet in a tabletop position. Making sure our hands are planted well, fingers spread out, pushing through each knuckle, planting your back toes onto the mat, shifting the hips up, downward facing dog. For this first down dog, feel free to take 20-30 seconds to kind of fidget and wiggle as your body pleases, maybe bending one knee, the other, maybe hips from side to side. You can even try what we call spinal rolls, bringing mobility into the spine, which might feel a little awkward, but as you begin to do them, you're going to feel the groove. So like a wave movement all through the spine, tucking in the chin, opening the chest, shifting back. Last one, and we'll all meet in a downward facing dog. Shifting your shoulders over your wrists into plank pose as you push your hands away from the mat, rounding the upper back, finding that angry cat in the upper back. So the scapulas are separating, pushing the hands away from you, either placing your knees onto the mat or not. We're going to go through a chaturanga, lowering all the way down into our bellies, elbows tucked in, lower all the way down. Opening our arms in a T, bringing our right hand next to the chest, pushing ourselves towards the left, opening the left shoulder. Planting the right foot behind us. Feel free to stay here. If you want to take it a little deeper, you can lengthen the right leg behind you. Finding a deeper twist, even an opening in the right frontal hip. And maybe you can take that right hand behind you, finding the left hand, interlacing hands. That's too much. Feel free to stay wherever it feels good. Wherever you feel you're honoring your body and your inner self. Slowly coming back through center, opening the right arm, bending the left, pushing yourself towards the right, opening the right shoulder. Again, a couple options here, either staying here, opening that right shoulder. You can lengthen the left leg, or you can even take the left arm behind you, interlacing your hands. behind your back, getting an opening on the left shoulder as well. Taking deep breaths in this deep shoulder opening twist. A lot going on here. And come back through center. Planting both hands next to the chest. As you inhale, you're going to lift into a baby cobra, keeping your elbows tucked in, crown of the head lifts. The backs of the feet push against the mat. Feel free to stay here as your shoulders roll back, or begin to lengthen those arms a little deeper, coming into a higher cobra, maybe coming even into an upward facing dog as shoulders roll back, knees lift, strong legs. Hold here for 2 more breaths. Lengthening the low back. The tailbone peels down towards the heels, and flip your toes, coming into a down dog. Slowly beginning to walk your feet towards your hands. Baby steps, take your time. Maybe beginning to bend your knees when you need to. Keeping your hands planted onto the mat. Grabbing opposite elbows, letting the torso hang. Maybe finding a little more length through the legs as we begin to warm up. So maybe we can lengthen the legs a little deeper in this forward fold and sway from side to side, releasing any tension through the crown of the head. Letting go of your elbows, rolling up all the way to standing, 1 vertebrae at a time. The last thing that comes up is the head. Shoulders roll back, crown of the head lifts. 1 Surya Namaskar A. Feel free to go at your own pace or follow me step by step. Inhale, arms up. As you exhale, hinge forward, keeping the hips over the heels, not letting the hips push back. Bending your knees as needed. Inhale, lengthen through the spine, lift halfway. Exhale, plant the hands next to the feet, step or hop back into plank or directly into chaturanga. Lower halfway, chaturanga, upward facing dog, downward facing dog. 5 full rounds of breath here. Finding length through the spine as you push the hands away from the mat. The sits bones reach up, bending the knees as much as you need to really lengthen through the spine, making like an inverse V form with your body. And from there you can begin to lengthen the legs and reach the heels towards the mat. Inhale. And on the next exhale, bend your knees, look forward, step or hop towards the front of the mat. Inhale, lengthen halfway. Exhale, forward fold, and come all the way up to standing. Hands in front of the heart. Half Surya Namaskar, meeting in downward facing dog. Inhale, arms up. As you exhale, hinge forward, reaching for the mat. Inhale, lengthen halfway, lift the heart. Exhale, plant the hands next to the feet, step or hop back directly into plank or chaturanga. Upward facing dog, downward facing dog. Slowly we're going to shift forward, planting the knees onto the mat, bring our shoulders over our wrists. We're going to start keeping our hips over our knees, walking our hands forward, letting our heart melt onto the ground. If this is too much, you can either place a pillow under your chest or walk your hands a little further out, making the angle a little less steep. Holding here, trying wherever you are not to resist the pose, but let yourself really melt onto the ground, feeling this deep chest shoulder opener. And remember your intention, come back to your mantra. Remembering this is a time for yourself. This is a little treat we give ourselves. slowly beginning to walk our hands back, bringing them under our shoulders, coming into a tabletop position. Lifting the right arm up as we pull the left hip crease back, keeping the hips squared. Maybe we look up and thread the right arm under, placing the back of the right shoulder onto the mat, the side of the head. Relaxing here onto your mat. And imagine how we're pulling your right hand further out. So really the back of the shoulder is what's on the mat. As the right hip crease keeps pulling back, making sure both hips are squared. And slowly return back through center, other side. Lift the left arm up, making a straight line from one hand to the other. So we're not collapsing in the right shoulder. The right shoulder's rolling back and down through our back. And slowly thread the left arm under the right, placing the back of the left shoulder, the side of the head. Releasing here. Left hip crease pulls back this time. Taking a couple deep breaths here. And slowly push yourself back through center, tabletop position, placing your toes onto the mat, shifting the hips up, downward facing dog. Coming into your inverse V. Lifting the right foot, bring the right knee into the nose, placing the foot as gently as possible between your hands. Lowering the back knee, the back of the foot, lifting the torso up. Shifting the hips forward to feel that opening in the left frontal hip. But at the same time, there's a lift from the belly button up through the crown of the head. Arms lengthen. The outside of the shoulders are rolling in. So it's almost as if we were trying to close our armpits. Placing the right hand onto the right hip, taking the left hand towards the right, side bend. Coming back through center, reaching the left arm forward, right arm back, twisting towards the right. Maybe we look back. Keeping the twist, we're going to plant the left hand down, reach your right arm up. Right hip reaches back, so we're not popping the right hip out. We're going to place the toes onto the mat, lifting the back knee. From here, we're going to transition into a side plank. Feel free to do what version feels right for you of side plank. So option one, well, everyone's going to come onto the edge of the left foot, so of the back foot. Option one, take the right foot right in front of your hip and push your hips up. Option two, one foot in front of the other. And option three, stack the feet. If you want to take it any further, do so as well. We're all pushing our hips up, making sure the right hip is stacked over the left. And for whoever wants to take it a step further, lift the right foot, bend the knee, place a foot behind you, wild thing. Reaching the right arm behind you, lifting the hips, chest lifts, pushes back. And come back through plank, planting the right hand back onto the mat, the right foot onto the mat, plank pose. Optional vinyasa, we'll all meet in down dog. Going through chaturanga, up dog, down dog. Other side, lift the left foot. Bring the left knee into the nose, placing the foot as gently as possible between your hands. If it doesn't reach that gentle, slowly, and wherever it reaches, you can grab it with your wrist, with your hand, and wiggle it in. Place the back knee down, back of the foot, lift the torso up, low lunge. Feeling the hips shift forward, and at the same time that rebound up. It's an active pose. We're not just hanging out in our hips, hip joints. Plant the left hand onto the left hip, reach the right arm towards the left, lengthening the right side of the body. And come back through center, reaching the left arm back, right arm forward, twisting towards the left. Maybe we look back. Keeping the hips low, Keeping the twist, plant the right hand down, lift the left arm up. Pushing that right hand against the mat, finding a strong upper back. Placing the back toes onto the mat, lift the back knee. Left hip crease pulls back. Same option, same version of side plank you took on one side, you'll take on this side. Slowly transitioning onto the side of the back foot. Coming into your side plank, pushing your hips up. Take a breath. This is a very invigorating pose. And now if you want to go into Wild Thing, slowly and gently, lift the left foot, planting the foot behind you. Lifting the hips, reaching the left arm back. Lift the chest, opening the shoulders, and slowly we'll all meet in plank pose. Either shift your hips back into down dog or go through your vinyasa. We'll all meet in down dog. Couple breaths here. And on the next exhale, bend your knees, look forward, and you're gonna hop your feet outside of your hands, letting your hips drop into yogi squat. So like a little frog, letting the hips drop low, knees wide apart. Hands in front of the heart as we push our elbows against the knees, opening the hips. If your feet don't come all the way onto the ground because you feel like you're gonna fall back, if you don't have any props, you can just come onto your toes. If not, you can grab a towel or even roll your mat and place it under your heels to support the stance. Wherever you are, breathe. Finding, again, that length. We're not just collapsing into our hips. Strong outer hips to support the pose. And we're going to plant our hands in front of us, keeping the wide stance. We're going to lengthen our legs, bringing our feet parallel, forward fold. Grabbing opposite elbows, letting ourselves sway from side to side. And come back through center, rolling up one vertebrae at a time, all the way up to standing. Shoulders roll back, chin parallel to the mat. And now we're going to come to face the side of the mat, coming into a wide angle stance. So our feet are going to come sort of parallel. It's almost a little more in, pigeon-toed in, than parallel to protect the knees. Feet under our hands when our arms are spread out. And we're going to plant our hands right in our low back, finding a length through the low back all the way through the crown of the head, and hinge forward with a strong, long back. Quads lift slowly until we reach for the floor with a long back. And maybe we'll stay here, or maybe we'll begin to walk our hands behind us. Bringing the crown of the head towards the mat. And slowly, the same way you came down, lengthening the spine, placing your hands on your hips, lift all the way up. We're going to come into Skandasana. So the right foot is going to open just slightly into a diagonal. We're going to bend the right knee, taking our hips towards the right, as the left foot lifts, looking up towards the ceiling. Right hand, again, same thing as Malasana, yogi squat. If you can't plant the whole foot, come onto your tiptoes. Right hand inside of the right leg, lifting the left arm up, opening the chest. Almost as the whole torso wanted to look towards the ceiling. And the left foot is flexed, all toes are facing up. And slowly you're going to plant both hands down, shifting towards the left, bending the left leg. Taking the right foot to face the ceiling. Left hand inside of you, inside of the left leg, right arm up, opening the chest. Skandasana. And slowly place both hands down. Now bring both hands to center in a wide angle pose right under you. Placing both hands in the hips, lift the torso all the way up. Last standing pose, interlacing your hands behind you. If this is too tight for you, you're tight in your shoulders, it's nice to grab a towel or a strap to separate your hands a little. If not, keep your hands interlaced, hinge at the hips, letting the hands fall over your head, letting the shoulders open and release. If you're very open in your shoulders, you can try pressing the palms of the hands together. If not, you can let them separate, but let both palms face each other. And slowly come back up the same way you came down. Letting go of your hands, stepping towards the front of the mat. Inhale, arms up. We're in a flow meeting in down dog. Forward fold. Inhale, lengthen through the spine. Lift halfway. Exhale, plant the hands next to the in front of the feet and step it back, plank pose. Optional, vinyasa, or we'll meet in down dog. Now, we're going to slowly place our knees onto the mat. Option 1, stay here kneeling, pressing our tush towards our heels. If this is too much, just come into a regular, easy, seated pose. So wherever you are, in whichever seated position you are, you're going to place your hands behind you, finding the heart lifting up. This might be enough for many. If you want to take it a little deeper, we're going to do this modified camel pose, pressing our hips forward, lifting the chest. You don't have to go this deep, you can go halfway, but whatever feels nice to open the shoulders, the chest. And slowly release down. One more time. If you're doing the seated version, pressing your hands behind you, lifting the heart, lifting the chest. This might be enough. Or you might want to push the hips forward, lifting the hips off of the ground. And slowly release back down onto the mat. Taking the right foot out, so keeping the left foot bent, Janu Shirshasana, shifting the torso towards the right foot and forward fold, reaching to grab the right foot. If you don't, it's fine. You can place your hands wherever they reach or grab a strap and pull yourself towards the foot. And come back up, other side, bending the right foot, lengthening the left foot faces up, shifting the torso towards the left leg, and forward fold. Coming back up, long spine. We'll all meet in an easy seated position. So our legs are crossing around the middle of our shins. So we're not just pulling our heels in towards us. Feeling a long spine, sits bones grounding. Inhale our arms up. As you exhale, twist towards the right, grabbing the right knee with the left hand, looking behind us. And coming back through center, walking our hands forward, forward fold. Releasing the neck, not forcing the neck anywhere, making it like a yin pose. So letting the torso just melt over our legs. And if we're up here, it doesn't matter, just letting it kind of hang over our legs. Slowly walking our hands back, switching the leg that's in front to the back. Usually this is a less dominant side, so it might feel a little awkward. Inhale, arms up. As you exhale, twist towards the left, grabbing the left knee with the right hand. The left hand goes behind us to support the length throughout the back. Looking behind, over our left shoulder. And coming back through center, forward fold. Taking a couple deep breaths here. Maybe releasing everything through the mouth. Inhaling through the nose. Sighing it all out. 2 more times just like that. And slowly come back up. Closing our eyes, bringing our hands in front of our heart. Returning to our mantra, to our intention. Om Namah Shivaya. I bow down to my inner self. Bring our hands into our third eye, bowing down in gratitude. Namaste. Hope you enjoyed. And remember, if you enjoyed and you want to do the full class is on my YouTube channel. So you can subscribe and see all the classes.